Hey, it's Sports Fantasy All In. Today is April the 10th, 2021. I'm Coach B.
And I'm Mitch.
And on today's epi, we are getting into the Week 12 Fantasy Hockey Pre-Playoff edition of Fantasy Hockey here. Mitch, man, it's been an incredible year. How's it been for you?
It's been challenging. As my first year for fantasy hockey, COVID was a nice mix, trying to juggle rosters and figure out who to pick up just in case a guy ends up going out.
Yeah.
It's definitely made it kind of fun, but I don't want to say fun because that's not fair.
Well, I mean, listen, fantasy sports, in the end, it's still a game, right?
Right.
So, which is intended to be fun. For me, yeah, it's extremely fun to me. This is why I do it. Uh, I guess day in, day out, year in, year out.
Mm,
Ranging from all different sports, from hockey, football, baseball, and basketball. So, I can't get enough of. It's been I want to say 10, 11, 12 years I've been playing myself. So it's like as long as it's still fun for me, I love it, man. I'm glad that in your first year you're really competing. You've been some great competition all year, obviously.
I dropped to the bottom of the league at one point, and then I fought my way back all the way to I'm fifth right now out of 10 people, right?
Right on your if the week ended today, you'd probably be in fourth, putting me in fifth or sixth. So
I'm nipping at your heels. I'm coming for you. You've been my top target, and I got to beat you last week, so I was pretty pumped about that.
yeah. That being said, I guess I'm just thankful. Saturday and Sunday is still upon us.
Yeah,
A couple
yeah.
more days to kind of turn my score around.
Hey, there's a chance. There's always a chance, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, this week I'm down 7-5. So I can't complain about that. I'm behind in one goal. Maybe I can add a bruiser, for a few extra hits and maybe some penalty minutes. But the a turnaround is definitely in the future. I can see it. So I'm not
That
giving up
I
yet.
that I found a lot of fun trying to do too, predicting which player to pick up during each week for like matchups to get more hits. Like I'd
Absolutely.
pay attention, and every time the Oilers and the Leafs played, I'd try and pick up Josh Archibald because he's a feisty little guy, and I think he got me 7 hits one time against the Leafs.
Yeah. I mean, guys like those, absolutely. You know, you actually mentioned him a lot earlier in the year, which is it kind of put him on the radar for me, just even noticing him. Even watching the games, I was, you notice the scrappy player he is, but
Hmm.
yeah, you being a Leaf fan, and I know you watch every game, so
I used
very
that
good eye.
to not only analyze the Leafs team to get Jack Campbell and scoop him up before anyone else did, but I also used it to study the other Canadian teams and figure out which players I wanted to pick up.
Yeah, for sure. And and I guess we can segue that into what we wanted to talk about today. Jackie Campbell was one of the better, I guess, free agent ads for the fantasy season, at least in our league, right?
Yeah,
And depending, judging on what his rostered value was to start, I guess you got to assume that he was probably a free agent ad in all leagues,
yeah,
unless you diehard Leaf fans like you, and kind of maybe if you're in deeper leagues, right, you're gonna scoop him up because just knowing that playing for the Leafs, you're probably gonna get some W's. You guys got a good team over there, so.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, getting into some of these players, I mean, me and you before we got on to Wax here, we were talking about some of the guys. There's a couple big name ads, just that weren't drafted in our league, and we kind of wanted to highlight a few of those. So yeah, I love that topic of discussion here. Who we got? You got any off the top you want to start with, or I
I'll
mean,
start with my
mention-
two before we get into like the deeper within our league here.
okay,
But so I'd probably say my biggest ads of the season were definitely Joe Pavelski, who I scooped up early and has been on my team the whole time, and
yeah,
then Jackie Campbell, who I got around mid-season and I sat on him for a while, but he got me 2 shutouts back to back, and I just rode him ever since then, and it's been nothing but W's.
Yeah, I mean, and you deserve your credit for that one because I mean, obviously we can go back and we can listen to the episodes, and you made a great call. You're definitely adamant on holding on to him and kind of seeing what he can prove.
Hmm.
He, he gave a little small sample last year, right, when he got traded. So yeah, it kind of gave you guys some hope, and man, I guess on his way to breaking records in Leaf history. So guy's been impressive.
If they win tonight against the Ottawa Senators, if he plays, he gets the NHL record for most consecutive wins to start a season.
And that, man, that's incredible. Shout out to the Windsor Spitfires alumni.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, first of all, to break the record of a name like Felix Potvin,
Yeah.
already an accomplishment in itself, and now to possibly own the NHL record, man. I mean, I can't even act like I saw that coming from Jack Campbell.
I honestly, nobody saw it coming, and I think that's why the team is playing so hard for him because it
Right.
just happened to happen. And now they
Yeah.
have a chance. I guarantee when they play tonight, they're blocking every shot they can.
And you can see the love. I mean, he's obviously well liked in the dressing room. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty cool
definitely.
to see.
How about you? What were your biggest ads of the season?
Well, I guess I'm kind of just looking up and down the list here. We mentioned Zibanejad was dropped in our league. Now, I just
Hmm.
want to touch on it quick because it's kind of embarrassing that we're in a league where he was actually dropped in general.
Yeah.
But I guess coming from who did it, he is an Islanders fan. I know he takes his team pretty serious, so might have had a little motivation, kind of looking in that direction a little bit. But I mean, obviously Zibanejad was one of the bigger ones.
Definitely.
Um, you know, I think one of the ones I mentioned was Adam Fox, defenseman for the Rangers.
Yes, that was a
And
good one.
yeah, I mean, I don't think I did the double check to see if he was drafted. I really don't think he was. And now, he's a top 20 player. Not even just defenseman, but player in the league right now. He's got, 37 points. He's a plus 13, 20 power play points.
Hmm.
So, and the Rangers have really turned it around. I think if we go back and listen to some of our early recordings, we were kind of down on the Rangers, right?
Right.
And I guess it plays into, you know, Zibanejad did have a slow start,
Right.
but I think a player of his stature, you can't drop him. You know what I mean? Like last year, you can't forget that last year he scored a 5 goal game,
Right.
right? And he gets dropped this year, gets picked up, gets dropped again, and then sure enough, he has 2 back-to-back 3 goal, 3 assist games. So it's like, that was that was a pretty big mistake there. So that would be another one. Your guy Zach Hyman. You didn't mention him, right?
I haven't mentioned him yet. Nope.
Yeah, Zach Hyman. I mean, obviously, I don't know how many leagues he would have been drafted in. I know he wasn't drafted in ours.
Right.
Um, he's another great one, right? He's obviously, like we said, we mentioned before, he's one of those glue guys where he's putting in the dirty work and he's getting time on the power play, a lot of chances in front of net, clean up the garbage. So
Yep.
and not he throws the body too. So
He's been a surprising player this year for sure.
I'd say another one could be David Perron. It seems like every year this guy's producing.
Yep.
Um, man, it almost seems like his career was done 4 years ago. And it seems like everywhere he's going, he still managed to put up 15, 20 goals, maybe 40, 45 points. So
Oh, it
Perron
was
is
an
another good one.
sorry.
Go ahead there.
Oh, I was gonna say another guy picked up by nothing but Saros, Mike Smith.
Mike Smith was a good ad. Yeah, I was really down on him myself, but I can't believe the turn that the Calgary Flames have made as compared to the Edmonton, the Oilers, and not to mention the goaltending department for Calgary right now. Man,
Yeah,
what a disaster! I can't believe Jakob Markstrom has kind of had a season the way he has. You
yeah.
know, obviously I drafted him in fantasy. He seemed to have a good start. They outbid the Oilers to bring him to Calgary from Vancouver. You
Hmm.
know, right in free agency, and man, I don't think anybody saw the Flames kind of not to be corny, but flaming out the way they are right now. You know, but I guess another one just off the top, Vinny Trocheck. He's a guy that
Yeah.
I've always liked. Um, he played in Florida for all those years. Great pickup for the Hurricanes. Great player. He's former OHL alum. I think he played for Plymouth.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's been a good one. Guy that you just picked up, who I happened to drop, but Josh Anderson, right? He was a free agent pickup for me earlier in the year,
Yeah, that was a
and
really good pickup.
yeah, I got a lot of production out of him when I picked him up. I think he got injured, went through a bit of a dry streak. I sometimes have a tough time um, letting go of guys that I like or that I've drafted on my fantasy teams.
Hmm.
Which is a good and a bad thing, right? Sometimes you might not drop them too early. Sometimes you might hold on to them too long. So it's sometimes a little give and take playing it like that. But I'm scrolling down. I guess another one off the top. Brian Rust. Now he's standing out to me because I remember just staring at him on the wire. Didn't get him. Taking chances on anybody else, and then guys like Alex Tuck, who I just happened to drop a week later, or I can't think of any others off the top. But Brian Russ, that guy's been steadily producing. Obviously, he plays for the Pens, right? He plays with Sid. He's on the power play. That guy's been. I want to say he's probably got a hat trick or two this year. So he was another one. Keep it dirty. Scooped him in our league. I guess just to kind of close it out with myself. I know I mentioned him in one of our episodes. I want to say maybe. Obviously, we've had a month hiatus here, but I'd say around maybe week 4 or 5, our week 4 or 5 episode.
Hmm.
I probably mentioned him in the defensive ads part of it, and that'd be Devin Tays.
Yeah.
So now he was dealing with an injury. He had a decent start. He's former Islander, playing on an extremely strong Avalanche squad. All right, so I made the trade for Makar in our league. Right, trade him for Johnny Carlson, which is not looking great. Thankfully, he dropped the other 3 guys who he got from me, so it doesn't look too bad on me. But yeah, Devin Tays to me was a good one. I know I picked him up maybe when he was, I want to say 16% rostered. He's now 78. So yeah, I'll close it out with Devin Tays for me. He was a fairly good defensive pickup. Power play points, a lot of assists, good plus minus. He's a plus 22 on the year. So.
Hmm.
And as a D man, he's obviously blocking shots, throwing a little bit of hits, hitting shots on goal. So
I got two more. One was a pretty strong one, and the other one is just kind of a shout out because he probably would have won this category specifically many times. But so
okay.
the first one, Pavel Buchnevich, he's
Yeah, he
gotten
was a good
really hot with the rest of the New York Rangers, and he plays on the same line as Zibanejad, right? So he was
one. Oh
getting
yeah,
points when he went off a couple times there.
they'll be producing.
And then my last one, where is it? I just want to shout out Joel Edmondson because his plus minus is plus 29, And if you had him on your roster, you didn't even have to worry about that plus minus category, most likely, because
Pretty
he
much helping you
probably, oh,
the whole week for you.
he was an ass saver for sure. If you had a player that had a bad plus minus, you could kind of counteract it with him and at least maintain, kind of around that zero.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a little, props to you too for that one. Remember, you made an earlier mention of him.
And lastly, actually, I want to shout out Hawk and Paw for no reason at all, just to say his name.
Because it's been so long.
It's been too long.
He's kind of. I think he might have sent us an angry message, mad that we haven't brought him up since all thousand Niederreiter's epi. So
Yeah.
we had to give him a week 12 shout out, before the playoffs start. No, I mean, yeah. So speaking on that, we're in week 12, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And the fantasy playoffs are knocking on the door, knocking on the window, right? We're at the end of this week. The playoff teams will be shaped up. I think out of our league, we moved it to 8 teams,
Hmm.
right? So we can have the full 3-week playoff. You know, if we're talking NHL hockey here, I mean the season's almost winding down, right? We're in what, a 56 game schedule here.
I believe so. Something in the 50s.
Yeah, I want to say 56. Most of these teams are in the early 40s, some in the late 30s. So not 20 games, but some teams 15, some 19 here.
Hmm.
And it's gonna be over quick. The season kind of flew by. Obviously, it's not normal circumstances. Let's hope that we can kind of get through some of these postponed games here, especially
Hmm.
for real and fantasy purposes, right?
Definitely.
But well, leading up to the fantasy playoffs here, you got any players you've had your eye on or trying to add for maybe a deep run or what?
Um, my plan actually, so I got four goalies on my roster right now. One on IR, which is Darcy Kemper. Then I got Igor Shesterkin, uh, Lankinen, and then Campbell. So I'm actually going to try and juggle three different goaltenders to see if I can win specifically with matchups in that category. Say if
Okay.
a team's playing a weaker team. Um, Other than that, I thought I'd be sneaky and toss in Kyle Palmieri because he got traded to the New York Islanders specifically as a scorer. So I thought I'd take a risk on that.
Yeah, I mean he has been a goal scorer, even playing for some of those weaker New Jersey Devil teams, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that ad for sure.
As far as like the rest of my roster, I don't have too many other guys that I'm looking at right now. I was keeping an eye on Nazem Kadri because he was rising, but he fell back a little bit.
Yeah, and I saw you picked up Yanni Gord.
Yeah, Nugent Hopkins went out on me, so I picked up Yanni Gord just to kind of fill in on that left wing. He's got center, left wing, and right wing availability. So
Yeah, I mean I've always been a fan of Yanni Gord. He can put the puck in the net. He can set up. He plays a physical game. He's not afraid to drop the gloves. Yeah, he's obviously in real life hockey he's a more valuable piece than he is in fantasy, but
mhm,
he's definitely making himself fantasy relevant. And when you're playing for a team like the Lightning, right? I think their goal is, especially when they've had recent success, their goal is to win the Stanley Cup no matter what every time, right? So obviously that's every team's mentality, but he's on a little better situation than some players, and yeah, Yanni Gour was a great ad. It's funny that you asked me about Arvidsson or him because I had kind of been eyeing up both.
I was actually just gonna give you a shout out for that, but I didn't want to take that
Yeah,
from you, so I'll let you keep going. Sorry.
yeah, no, it's all right. No, I mean, I had been, like you said, for the reasons I just explained about Gord, right? He's uh he's in a good situation. You even got a player like Barclay Goodrow playing pretty good for them. He plays
Hmm.
a similar role, right? Yeah, I mean, they're just successful as a team in general. So yeah, that's a good ad. Obviously, for the playoffs, you want teams who are, are going to have something to fight for, right? Obviously, Tampa's there. And yeah, and then Victor Arvidsson. For me, I found I was lacking shots a lot in on a weekly basis. Even though I had a lot of, typically I have a lot of playmakers on my team, right? More than
Hmm.
snipers.
Yeah.
So my shots on goal, I was probably taking the loss more often than not. So not he's not a pure scorer, but he definitely put the puck in the net. He just had a hat trick, I think, against the Wings a couple nights ago.
Yep.
Uh,
And he puts a ton of pucks towards the net, so that's
exactly, yeah.
heads up
So
right there.
yeah, and I figured that was it. He has the recent hat trick. Maybe he's gonna run off that steam a little bit and
He was
maybe pick.
also thrusted into more of a playtime role because the Nashville Predators lost Philip Forsberg.
There you go.
So you picked him up at the right time.
Yes, the guy's gonna fill in. He's been a goal scorer for years. He's speedy, and like you said, he just puts pucks on the net, and obviously it's important in our league, right? So he was one, like you said, Nedeljkovic. As we mentioned, this has to be a couple months ago when he was first mentioned on our show here.
Hmm.
I think it was just, what I say. I think it was a matter of time until he took over that number two from Reimer, right?
Yep.
And it was right when Mrazek came back. So yeah, I think him moving forward. I mean, he's got an under two GAA. I think he's got like a 920 save percentage. So the guy's been rolling. 928 save percentage, right? 9 wins. He's got a couple shutouts, 3 shutouts, and this is all in a limited kind of backup role, right? So
Right.
I guess a platoon type of situation. So yeah, him. I think Nedeljkovic, even though me and you kind of played hot potato with him a little bit.
It's true. I did just drop him.
I mean, yeah, I remember. I think I had him. I don't think anybody else had him in the league other than me and you.
Yeah, you're right.
So we can be Eskimo brothers on that one. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I had to make a couple moves. I've kind of been stagnant the last few weeks in fantasy as well, right? I picked up Jason Robertson on Dallas Stars.
Oh yeah, I was gonna give you a shout out for that because I've seen that he's been pretty productive recently.
He's been productive, yeah. There's something about his game. He's a young kid, right? But he shows a lot of emotion on the ice. You can tell he's just like excited. He plays the game hard. He's he sees the ice good. He's pretty. He made this one kind of behind the legs, behind the net pass. That I was like, man, kind of shows a different kind of vision, right?
Hmm.
And I almost want to say if I wonder if him and Nick Robertson from the Leafs are brothers. They look kind of similar.
I'm not sure to be honest with you. It's
But yeah,
possible.
so yeah, I picked up Robertson a couple maybe 10 days ago, and I'm liking what he's been putting up for me so far. So I'm just gonna ride him out. Dallas. We've talked about Dallas a million times. I've expressed my love for the Stars. I've always kind of been a fan of a lot of their players, so this is no different here. It seems like guys like Jamie Benn kind of slowing down a bit. If a guy like Robertson can carve out a solid role because Tyler Seguin's probably going to be back within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Hmm.
Cash in on that IR stash for the playoff weeks if I can make it that far. Big if.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Who was your worst ad of the season?
Oh boy. You mean like free agent ad?
Yeah. Or I could accept drafting too. Drafting works.
I've had a couple bad ones. I'd have to resort back to my team, which I can do right here. But I mean, Johnny Hockey wasn't the greatest. I had high hopes for him, and then I traded him away, right? So I
Right.
got a pretty good deal on that one. It's crazy that I drafted three Flames right in a row. Fifth, sixth, and seventh round were all Calgary Flames.
Damn.
And I went Goodrow in the fifth at 43. I went Markstrom in the sixth at 58. And I went Elias Lindholm at 63, which happened to be my best pick out of the three. I got him in
Yeah.
the seventh. Quinn Hughes, kind of, I'm a fan of him, but he's, the plus minus makes him kind of kill the whole fantasy outlook for him, right? Even though he puts up a lot of points and power play points.
Yeah.
Um, Pierre-Luc Dubois, that was a ninth round pick. Probably could have got someone better, so that wasn't a great one for me. I took Elvis Merzlikins. I figured he was going to run away with the job. Columbus was kind of wrong about that. They're both kind of shit in the bed in Columbus, him and Corpusalo. Evander Kane was one of my better late round picks. I took him in the 11th. He's been one of my better players on my roster all year. And then we got Darnell Nurse. I took him in the 12th round. That was one of my better ones. Max Domi was a waste of a pick at 15. And then I took Philip Hronek, one of the few bright spots on a Red Wings future roster, but his plus minus couldn't really salvage a roster spot on my team because his plus minus was near the bottom, right?
Hmm.
But I mean, I don't have a ton of bomb picks. I would say Markstrom might have been my worst at 6. I took Leon with the third overall pick in the first round. And then Braden Point, he's picking it up. Johnny Carlson, who I traded, got Cale Makar, who I actually it was between those two, and I think Makar actually got picked the pick right after at 24.
Hmm.
So yeah, I hope I gave you enough info on that. I guess I'll swing it around and ask you the same question.
I so if I go through my draft right now, my top 10 picks
You had
were
a pretty your top 5, your top 6 were actually really good. Shoot, maybe even your top 9.
yeah, all
Brock
the way.
Besser, great.
I thought all the way up to Brock Besser were like most of them were hits. Shesterkin ended up being better later on in the year. Roman Yossi looked like a bust, but he got a lot better during at the end of the year too.
Yeah, he turned it around big time.
Everything below 10 though, I've got rid of and dropped. Nazem Kadri, Braden Holtby was a bad pick. Jaden Schwartz wasn't a horrible pick. I could have kept him.
To be actually fair to you, like Brock Besser's having a pretty good year, and especially considering how bad the Canucks have been. He's only a
Hmm.
-1 for the year. So
Yeah,
that was your first 10. Actually, to me, you kind of killed it in the draft. I mean, you drafted a good team. Your ad drops have been pretty good all year. You actually have had a pretty successful fantasy first ever fantasy year.
my
Nazem Kadri, I was actually big on him too going into the year, so not a
my
bad pick, I don't think either.
my biggest L was probably Alex Lafreniere, which I figured would be an L, but I thought I'd take the risk anyways. Rasmus Ristolainen was looking great until he got COVID.
Yeah, I mean, your biggest one might be Braden Holtby at 12.
That,
But other
yep,
than that,
that was an
it's
L
not
too for
terrible, right?
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I even took Thatcher Demko, but I mean, no one's really working out there. It's almost like the Columbus, the Columbus situation there, where
Yeah.
neither one of them could really run away with it, the starting job. Even though it seems like Demko has been given the starting job. I mean, in fantasy, do you really want him right now?
Not really.
Not really. So, I mean, I like the Riley Smith pick. He's a little too hot and cold to hold on to in fantasy, but
Yeah, I did like that pick too, and then I had to drop him because you're right, he was just a little too cold. I'm looking
yeah,
through these ads here just to see if there was someone I didn't like. Malcolm Subban was that wasn't a very good one by me.
yeah. I mean, Malcolm Subban. Who knew about Kevin Lankinen? going into this fantasy year.
Hmm.
Other than Hawks fans, for the most part, or maybe once we step our game up to the next level, we will be that knee deep in it. But I
Hey,
I wasn't
just
looking at Kevin Lankinen myself.
just get going through this here. Seeing how many times Mika Zibanejad was added and dropped is
Yeah,
hilarious.
I know. It had to. He had this has to be his third team on the year, and I know I looked at him. I'm just kicking myself in the freaking, what's. But and not to change the subject, but Jason Robertson just scored his second goal of the game. Thank you.
Nice, nice.
41 stars at the moment.
That was definitely a heads up grab by you there.
Yeah, there's something about I wasn't watching the game. I was watching the highlights, and man, he showed this enthusiasm that where he set up a sick play, and he
Hmm.
was just as happy if he scored the goal himself, right? And just to see that, I was like, man, I'm like, there's something to this kid. And then I'm like, let me take a little flyer. I took a Sunday night flyer on him. I needed a little bit of offense, and he ended up putting the goal in for the Stars that night. So I figure I'll just ride the wave.
Bad drop by me was dropping Braden Shen. Should have just kept him.
Yes and no. I mean, remember, did I pick him up after you
You
dropped him?
you wanted me. I picked him up because we were gonna do a trade, but we couldn't work anything out because you didn't have any picks left.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. And then, yeah, he ended up picking it up a little bit after that, but then he really disappeared himself.
Hmm.
A couple of the guys who are, let's speak on a couple big name drops that happened in our league. Johnny Goodrow and Willie Nylander.
Yep.
Now, ironically, these guys were traded for each other during the season, right? The trade was Pierre-Luc Dubois, Johnny Goudreau, Johnny Carlson, and Jonas Corposalo,
Hmm.
or Matt Barzal, Cale Makar, and William Nylander, right?
Hmm.
Now, in our league, Corposalo, Dubois, and Goudreau now have been dropped from that trade.
Yeah, I saw that.
So basically, it ended up being John Carlson for Cale Makar and Matt Barzal, which,
Which is that's a good trade for you.
it ended up being in my favor, right? It kind of made dropping Willie a little easier. Now, that
Yeah.
being said, my question to you is, do you feel Johnny Goudreau and or Willie Nylander are even, drop eligible? Do you think they're drop,
That's a
worthy of a drop, I should say?
Okay. So if I'm gonna go into, let's start with Johnny. I
Okay.
don't see the Calgary Flames picking it up much this year. He'll still get you a couple points, but I don't think they're going to be heating up towards the end. They've been pretty well defeated throughout this
Yeah,
entire season, so no knock on Johnny at all, but I think that makes him drop eligible because the team specifically isn't going to get the best matchups. He's going to be playing against top players in the Canadian division, and the
absolutely.
team's not that hot. Shaky goaltending right now. Definitely worth dropping. William Nylander, he's had a bit of a stalled season in general. I'd almost say it's not going to hurt you to drop him if you don't need him.
Right.
If
You
I had
know,
room for him, I'd sit on him
I,
personally, but I'm a
yeah,
homer, so
right.
I guess I'm a little biased. I see that his line is buzzing, but there's just not like when I watch the games, him, Johnny T, and Galchenyuk, they're hemming teams in the offensive zone. I like Willie a lot as a player, but I just don't see the production out of it. That's why I'd sit there and say that maybe dropping him would be worth it because you'd free up a spot.
No, I hear that 100%, and that's the thing too. Now that I had him on my roster, paying closer attention to him, the consistency is just not there.
Right.
And it kind of seems like that. I think me and you talked about it one time. That he just he's buzzing one game and then he's kind of just floating around the other, right?
Right.
So yeah, the consistency is not there. Yeah, could he come in handy down the road? Maybe. He's still a goal scorer, but the lack of power play points kind of drove that drop.
Yeah.
To be totally honest, right? Um, yeah, I mean the Leafs are still playing good hockey. Like you said, the power play is struggling.
That
They've won 5 straight somehow with no power play.
that is actually something I want to add to it was that so they're almost 0 and 30, or at least they were almost 0 and 30 till they got their last power play goal. I think it was last game or the game before.
Wow.
So they went almost 30 tries without getting a single power play goal, which is it kind of like a lot of these things I find end up kind of averaging themselves out. So now I feel they're going to start picking up on the power play goals, if you get
Yeah,
what
I
I
mean,
mean.
oh, absolutely. And if you're one of your greatest assets, which is a team's power play, is not working, and you're still winning, you're still on a W5. I mean, you got to think that the water's going to settle, and then it's going to come to them eventually. So they just
I,
got to keep pressing, stay urgent.
I guess what I'm saying is that I wouldn't be surprised if the Leafs have the hottest or hotter power play in the NHL and ending this season. So
I hear that.
that's what I was kind of thinking there.
Oh, it's okay. No, I mean, the Leafs, if we're talking overall league, they're third in the league, right?
Right.
And they're obviously first in the North Division, and I think they're still in good shape. Everything seems to be good in Leafland. Hopefully, they can get that power play together. But some of these teams who've been turning it around lately.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
who?
we get into some of the league's hottest. We got Edmonton. They've been turning it
Yeah.
around. They're 7-1-2 in their last 10.
Yeah,
Um,
they've been looking real good recently.
yeah, Winnipeg still playing some pretty good hockey. 6-3-1 their last 10. Canucks not as bad, even though they're on a 2-game losing streak. 6-3-1 though in their last 10. Uh, when it comes to the Canadian division, though, it seems like it's going to be between Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Toronto.
Yeah.
I can't believe how bad Calgary has just disappeared. They seem to be out of it. Um,
The
Obviously,
Oilers and Leafs, if they have a power playoff game, that will be great.
if
Playoff
they have a
series.
series, oh my gosh, yeah, if they have a series together or against each other, it's going to be amazing. Even if we're talking the East here, Penguins have really turned it around. They've been rolling.
Yep.
Um, the Isles are still playing good hockey. The Rangers have really turned it around. They're playing good hockey.
Hmm.
Washington's kind of slowing down a bit. Philadelphia is just taking a turn for the worse after the Rangers just straight embarrassed them.
Yep.
And Boston always seems to be in the mix. So those are some of the best out of the East. What do we got here? The Central. Man, I can't believe the turnaround that Nashville has done.
Yep.
They're on a 3-game win streak right now, 9-1 in their last 10. Pecorine, you know, looking like the Pecorine of old. Saros playing pretty good for them. They've turned around big time from a slow start. Like you said, you mentioned Roman Yossi.
We also got the Stars that have slipped quite a bit.
Yeah, the Stars really took a tumble. They dealt with a few postponements, but man, they were rolling. Yeah, they've really been slumping lately. Even Tampa was rolling. They still are, but they're 5-5 in their last 10. Florida's taking a couple L's. The team that at least me, I can't stop talking about the Carolina Hurricanes. They're still rolling.
You got your boy as coach.
Yeah, Rod Brindamore, got the ship heading in the right direction as usual.
Yeah,
Got all men on deck and ready to wage out all war on anybody in their path.
I'm glad I got Sebastian Aho.
Yeah, like you said, Martin Natchez, I haven't mentioned him, I don't think, on the show all day, but he was one of the. I don't know how I forgot to mention him as one of my worst drops. He's probably my worst drop of the year. And not to humbly brag like I almost do it once every show, but uh, you know, that was just one of those unfortunate times where I had so many players and I had no one to drop, and I really didn't want to drop him, and I dropped him at a bad time. And I know we mentioned him on at least 2 or 3 shows before, so that one hurt to lose.
Wow, I didn't see this. I'm looking at the West Division here. Look at them Coyotes slipping into the number 4 spot right there.
They quietly did it, eh? I know they've been
Yeah,
turning it around too. They've been playing some pretty good hockey, and they're doing it all with their I think third string goalie, right?
right, because
ATL.
Kemper's out.
Kemper's out. Antti Ranta's still out. Um, even San Jose though, their last 10, 7-3,
Yeah.
trying to still afloat a bit. They're a minus 18 on the year. Obviously, Colorado is the powerhouse of the West, right?
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
they're playing like it, right?
Golden
And
Knights quietly not too far behind though.
yeah, Vegas still close number two, right on their heels, 4 points behind. Mini still hanging in there.
I didn't expect
Bethesda.
Minnesota to be where they are either, to be honest. Number 3.
Yeah, honestly, and I feel like the now with San Jose picking it up, that 4, 5, 6, that race between 4, 5, and 6 could be really interesting going down the stretch for that Honda
Yeah,
West division.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, well, man, it's been some great hockey. Like you said, we're week 12. What do we got here? Week 12, the fantasy playoffs are upon us after this week. Can't believe it, Mitch. Man, I'm really hoping that I'm not going to slip into that 6 spot going into the playoffs.
Have to face off against BT or Jerdy.
I think Keep It Dirty is he might inevitably be my first round matchup, and I don't know if that's what I necessarily want going through goaltending struggles.
Yeah, that's a tough one. He's got a really good goaltending squad.
Yeah, but that's the fantasy life, right? You fight to survive. You make ad drops accordingly. You play matchups like you mentioned. You know, you fight, claw, and scratch.
Well, good luck to
It's-
you on the rest of the season.
Well, you too, brother. It's been a great year, man. I can't believe we're already at the last week of the regular season, but you know how it goes. We sorry, I'm looking at the potential free agents out there right now for our league, but the list is looking pretty thin this
I
time of year.
agree.
But
I
I think
agree.
we already kind of went into our game plan leading into the playoffs. Should be a great battle, at least in our league. We wish all the fantasy players out there in general good luck.
Hopefully, we face off to get that 1-1 tie broken.
Me and you would be a nice playoff match. Hopefully, it's in the finals.
Yeah, that would be sick.
I wish you and me success and nothing less.
You too.
But if it comes to that, I'm coming for you. But anyway, this has been it's been a long time coming. This epi, we've been kind of putting it off. We had some life happens moments where we got a little delayed here, but man, uh, April the 10th, I want to say just under 3 weeks away from the NFL draft.
Oh yeah.
Gonna have to get a football epi in. We have plenty of free agents and situations to talk about. It's been a while since we talked.
And Russ is
You
staying in Seattle. Let's go.
Russ staying in Seattle, CC number 32, the Bruiser, Chris Carson
They said it
staying in
couldn't be
Seattle.
done.
And you know what? Just a early sleeper. I'm just going to drop on the end of this hockey epi. Rashad Penny. Is this the year we see Rashad Penny in Seattle? Could be a serious 1-2 force with Carson. I think might be something to look into.
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
We'll
we
see.
got plenty of gems and predictions to get into, but we'll wrap up this hockey epi. Mitch, it was great to do it again.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
luck, like we said in the future. I mean, your week's looking pretty good right now. I'm needing a turnaround on BT. I'm hoping not to drop too much. If I do, it might only be a slot or two, so I can accept fifth place. I guess to Obi-Wan Kenobi, classy organization like that. Anybody else, maybe not.
All right, bud.
All right, home. Let's wrap up. Mitch and
Yes.
Coach B, Sports all in. Catch you on the next one. Let's make it sooner and later, right, buds?
That's it. Peace.
All right, Holmes. Later.